Welcome to the Raider Life Podcast. I'm your host, Charlie Boots. This interview has been trimmed from its original format to meet YouTube and Facebook's video standards. For entire episodes and bonus interviews, head on over to RaiderLife.com or subscribe on the Apple Podcast app. Now, let's get into this week's episode. And I'm so proud to say it, Senator Napoleon Harris. I'm your host, Charlie Boots, and you are tuned in to the Raider Life Podcast, listening at RaiderLife.com. Here's the Senator. Napoleon, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing fine. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Oh, man, we appreciate you and everything that you do, man. You know, your life is really a story of a commitment to excellence.
Oh, man, I'm so proud of what I've been able to accomplish on and off the field, of course. And you say that commitment to excellence because that's something that I live by and something that I've been striving for, you know, ever since I can remember. And when you get drafted to the Raiders and you see it on the gates at training camp and you see it in all the memorabilia and all the programs, it kind of sticks with you throughout your life.
Yeah. And I mean, first round pick, you always had that work ethic. God, your life has these chapters. It's incredible. It's like, which chapter do we start with? First, I got to say, you have the sweetest assistant in the world. Miss Donna is an angel.
Oh, I love Miss Hickman. Donna Hickman has been a true asset for me, working with me, legislative issues, constituent services, etc., organizing schedules. She's simply the best.
It honestly puts a smile on my face anytime I talk to her. So let's take it all the way back, man. Let's take it to Chicago. Let's take it to growing up. How many siblings did you have growing up?
I had two brothers and a sister.
What number were you?
I'm number two out of everyone.
Oh, okay.
Of all my siblings, I'm number one by my mom. My dad had another child. No, my dad had another child before him and my mom got married. But by my mom, she had three children, and I'm the oldest out of that bunch.
Oh, okay. I thought he said, I'm number one to mom. That's a great line, honestly.
I'm probably still number one to mom. You know, they say it's nothing like the first.
Oh man. So when you were growing up in Chicago, take us through, a typical day. What was the passion in? And I'm talking like grade school, like, middle school. What sports was your heart in?
Basketball. We were so fortunate and blessed here in Chicago to see the likes of Michael Jordan and the heyday that the Chicago Bulls had with winning 6 championships in 8 years. So growing up, Michael Jordan was the big star, not only in Chicago, but nationally and even worldwide. So I grew up a huge basketball fan. I'm still a basketball fan, and you couldn't have told me any different that I wasn't going to be in the NBA because that's all we did was play basketball. We had fun. We played from the sun up to sundown when we weren't in school in the summertime. We played until, as they say, the street lights came on, until we had to go in the house.
Absolutely.
And had some fun times doing it.
Man, when did you discover football?
Well, to be honest, football kind of discovered me. The first time I ever played football or even took an interest was in high school. I remember my cousin went to my rival high school, and we were over either my grandmother's house or a family member's house, and he talked about that I was too soft to play football, and I was afraid that I was going to go get hit. And I was like, what? and that really inspired me to play football. So I went out, freshman year, and I didn't like it. I didn't know anything. I literally didn't know anything about football. I didn't know the positions. I didn't know the stances, what they did, or anything. So the coach, the first position they put me at safety. Now, I get out there in the game after didn't know anything even from practice, and I get an interception. And I go down, and I get hit. And I get hit out of bounds, and I fumble the ball out of bounds. Even though we get to keep it, I fumble the ball. And I told the coach, I said, nah, I don't want to play this. I don't like getting hit. He said, well, don't worry about getting hit. You playing defense. So he said, if you don't intercept the ball, you don't get hit.
Oh, man, but you could dish them.
Right.
So was that from that age? Were you laying cats out at that age?
No, I wouldn't say so. That was my freshman year. I was probably 14 years old. I was 13 actually, and I haven't turned 14 yet. So I was 13 years old, haven't really started, doing a lot. But the funny part to this story is once I started football, basketball season was coming around. So I left football season in the middle of the season and started doing basketball conditioning for basketball.
Oh, wow.
Because basketball season was coming up, and I was, at the time I was a pretty good basketball player. I was all area basketball player here in Illinois. Played on the #1 high school team in the country. We beat Kevin Garnett's team. So we had a pretty good basketball team as well.
That's Thornton High, right?
Thornton Township High School. Yes, sir.
Okay.
So the football coach, Coach Moselle, comes to me the next year, sophomore year, in lunch. I remember being in lunchroom. He said, "Listen, you're too tall, too athletic to not be playing football. Come on out, give it a try, yada, yada, yada." I said, "Okay, no problem." Come out there, give it a try. They put me at, I played, believe it or not, I played wide receiver on the team. I was pretty, like I said, good athlete, was fast.
I
played wide receiver. And Antoine Rendeleo, of course, another NFLer, great player, was one of my really good friends, and he was the quarterback. So, of course, he used to throw me the ball.
Get out of here.
I had racked up a lot of yards. And then how I got to play defense, we had two pretty good linebackers. We had Deontay Hill and Thomas Cole. They were really good outside linebackers for our high school team. They were the starters. They end up getting hurt. Both of them end up getting hurt in a game against our rival, Thornwood, who's the team that my cousin actually played for. Oh. And the coach said, "We need somebody to go in and play outside linebacker." And they just said, "Put Napoleon in." And I was like, "Oh my God." I said, "Coach, I don't know how to play. I don't know any of the plays." You know what he told me? He said, "Line up wide and tackle the guy with the ball." I went out there and got 2 sacks in that game. The following week, I'm practicing at outside linebacker, and the rest is history. I go out the following year and set a state record, have 24 sacks in one season, and I believe that record still stands today. And then I just kept going and growing throughout my collegiate career and end up as a first-round draft pick for the Raiders.
Man, oh my God. So did you feel like that day when they put you in a linebacker, did something click for you? Like, what about the position did you fall in love with?
Well, I think the fact that I was able to dish out and not get hit, instead of being the guy taking the hits, I was the guy giving the hits. So I think that resonated with me.
I love the logic.
So I said, if I can punish guys for catching the ball, then that's what I want to do.
And then you took that to Northwestern, man. Now, what was it like now? Did you have your eyes on Northwestern as a school you wanted to go to, or was everyone calling? How'd you decide to go?
That was definitely one of my schools in the end that I definitely wanted to attend. They were someone who was recruiting me pretty hard. They were active in the area. They're local. As I said, North Evanston is only probably 20, 25 minutes north of downtown Chicago, so it was an easy commute from the south side. But to be honest, I was pretty much recruited by every major college football program in the country. I remember like yesterday having a garbage bag full of mail from every college. And then when you get the handwritten letters, that mean they really like you. You say, I remember getting a letter from Coach Saban when he was at Michigan State. I remember Coach Paterno calling, Lloyd Carr, John Cooper, every major coach. John Robinson was actually the first coach from USC, the first coach to call me when the coaches were allowed to call. He called at midnight. Exactly at 12 a.m., the phone rang at the house. And I remember because my mother went nuts. Who's calling my house at midnight? So it was pretty exciting. And I remember that time because it was fun for me because you get to see kind of like where you rank at with your peers and other good players around the country. And I want to say at the time, I remember that, was it the Detroit Free Press? They had me ranked as the top linebacker in the Midwest. And I want to say nationally, I probably was ranked two or three, and I think LeVar Arrington was ranked number 1. And we ended up meeting each other at the All-American game down in Florida, and grew a relationship from there. We've been good friends ever since.
When you look back at all the games you played, what game puts the most goosebumps on your arm?
College, pro, or high school? which level?
Okay, give me the college and the pro.
I want to say the college game that gives me the goosebumps the most. The game that I was just like the one of the best feelings, and for me one of my best games. I would say a Michigan State game. Michigan State game in 2000. I think it was a 2000 Michigan State game. Either 2000 or 2001 Michigan State game. When I think I had maybe 5 or 6 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, pass breakups, and maybe an interception.
God.
It was just, it was a moment that I remember because I know it was a tight game. They had a really good All-American receiver, Rogers, I believe. Charles Rogers. He was ended up being a first-round draft pick for Detroit Lions. He was having a great game, and they were coming back. And I made a key play, and I was actually supposed to be in coverage, and I was dropped back in coverage under the number 2, and I saw an opportunity. The quarterback had no pressure, and I just shot my gun, just shot it, just accelerated and chased down the quarterback and got a sack, and got him out of field goal range, and I blocked the kick that game too, blocked the field goal for them to win the game.
That's
and it was just one of those games where you're like, wow, you're in the zone. And in the NFL, I probably had 2 games that stick out to me as being pretty dominant games. One was my rookie year, the AFC Championship game against Tennessee Titans. That was just that game. I was on cloud 9. I just remember delivering punishing blow after punishing blow to the running back. And I just remember the pure excitement and joy just to know that we were going to have an opportunity to play in the Super Bowl, and to see the excitement on Tim Brown's face, who played all those years, and it was his opportunity to play in the Super Bowl, and to deliver a Super Bowl opportunity for the late great Al Davis. Because I remember when he drafted me, talking to him on the phone, I told him, I said, "You made a great pick, Mr. Davis, because I'm going to help you get to the Super Bowl." And just to deliver on that promise was pretty cool, pretty unique feeling. And another game in the NFL.
Hey, what did he say to you when you said that? Get to that conversation.
So, I loved Al Davis, and we had a unique relationship. And I just remember, from that conversation, he said, "Well, Napoleon," they say I was a good imitator of voices, so I'm talking my Al Davis voice. He said, "Well, Napoleon, I drafted you because I seen how fast you run. You have great speed, great pop, great athlete that can cover the tight end down the field and can cover running back. So you bring that to the Raiders, and we're going to be great. And just remember, I need a winner." And I just remember that conversation, and it was like yesterday. And then I remember the day after the Super Bowl when we lost. I remember him coming onto the back of the plane, and he said, "Napoleon, you told me you was going to get me there, but what you didn't tell me, that you wasn't going to win it." So I told him, I said, "We'll get him next year." And man, I love Mr. Davis. He was a great guy, one of a kind. Really cared about the players. Really had a great relationship with them, and he was a players guy. He was a team guy, and he was definitely a Raiders guy.
What is something you carry with you to this day, a mark that Al Davis or a gem that he left you with?
Commitment to excellence. Everything that Mr. Davis was, everything that he was, and everything that he put into the Raiders organization was about being the very best. And for me, that's something that my mother instilled in me, to give your best at all times, to never settle for second place, to be the best in whatever you set out to do. And those things merge together. It will come full circle when you have your mother on one end telling you, and then you get someone like Mr. Davis demanding it of the players that he drafted or that he picked up in free agent, anyone that was a part of his organization. And so to have that on both ends is a reflection of who he was as a person. And it rubbed off on me in such a way that I'm like that in all aspects of my life, in my business, in government, as a father, as a husband. I want to be the very best. So I set forth the best effort and try to utilize my resources as best possible to be the very best in whatever I set out to do.
Man, you're such an inspiring guy, and you really are like like a Chicago superhero. It's incredible. Let's talk about that attitude of be a winner, win in what you do. When you took to politics, was there an interest before you got in? What brought that out of you?
Well, it's really a unique story in itself. I remember talking with my college teammate, Damian Anderson, and another one of my college teammates, Louis Ayeni, who's now a coach at Toledo. I remember having a conversation with them, and I was telling them, I was like, one day I'm going to be the president of the United States. You know, not knowing anything about politics, not knowing what you have to do and the methods that you have to do, the campaign, the filling out the petitions, had no knowledge of the actual process, but just said, hey, I'm going to be the president of the United States. I said, there's two things I'm going to be. I said, I'm going to be a first round draft pick in the NFL, then the president of the United States, because I just believed in my own ability to lead. And as it relates to politics, I had no interest on running for government at this stage in my career because I was just finishing up with the NFL. I was thriving in my new business, doing that, and then I just became a new father. So I had a lot of different dynamics going on at the time where I just wanted to focus on those things. You know, some community leaders came to me, some people that I value their opinion and trust, said, hey, there's an opportunity for you to run for Senate. We want someone who we can trust, want someone who's going to uphold the values of this community. You know better than anyone because you were born here, you were raised here, you went to the schools here, so you know better than anyone else what it takes to make this community grow and vibrant and get people back on the right track to prosperity. And it was something that at first I shied away from. I said, no, thank you at this time. It's not something that I want to do. But when I thought about it a little more in detail and went around and talked to different people and start canvassing, start going, knocking on people's doors and actually asking them, what is it that you want from your government? How can I be of service to you? And the feedback that I got was amazing. It was like, hey, we're so glad you're back home, Napoleon. We're so glad that you're deciding to represent the community that you come from. We believe in you. We want to support you. And then I decided to run, and it's been an awesome experience. It's been a very humbling experience to see the interworkings of government and how you can access government to help the people in which you represent. So it's been great for me.
Man, and it really is. It's so cool to be able to say Senator Napoleon Harris, President Napoleon Harris. Sounds even better. And don't you forget, Charlie Boots called it in 2017.
We better be having great football Sundays at the White House and have a silver glass pool room or something if we're in there.
We'll have the Raiders painted on the 50-yard line in the White House.
Oh my God!
Don't have me at the gate saying you promised.
Have Raider Week at the White House.
I like that. Hey, man, a slogan that I think defines you is don't tell me what I can't do. You know, you accept challenges, you love them, and then you crush them. That is awesome. So how did it feel the day you got elected? You got elected senator. What goes through your head?
Oh, it was exciting. I was on, you had your family and friends around. You have a lot of the constituents, the people that supported you, the journey. I think that's what a lot of people just see the finished product, but they don't see the journey. The journey started many months before the actual process of me being elected. The journey was me knocking on doors, having community meetings, going and organizing and getting people's opinions on different issues and actually researching those issues and trying to come up and find solutions for the many problems that our communities across the country and in my district that we face. So, but on that night when they actually announced it, that I won, it was just, it was a feeling of relief because it's definitely stressful because you don't know what the outcome is going to be. You just know it's not like sports where you can kind of predict the outcome based on what you do physically on the game of in football terms. It's like if I have an interception and run it back for a touchdown, I know the outcome. I know there's 6 points and I know we're going to kick a field goal and then I know because we have the most points. But in government, you have to wait until every vote is counted and that all the precincts are closed and they're tallied up, and it's something that's not in the grasp of your control. So it's definitely nerve-wracking and brutal, but nevertheless, once you hear the results that you want to hear, it's exciting. It's a degree. It's a feeling of self-confidence because you've accomplished another goal or marker, but it's also a sense of humbleness and pride because I get to represent the area that I was born and raised in, that I went to school in, that my parents and grandparents live in, aunts and uncles and friends that I went to school with. And it's like people know you. So some of my former school teachers live in the area. So when I'm knocking on doors, they're like, "Hey, Napoleon, how's it going?" I'm knowing people. I'm familiar with them. So it's not like I'm talking to strangers. So it's a great feeling.
No, that's a hometown hero, folks. That is incredible. So now let's talk about the fact that outside of just accomplishing those two minor tasks, the three minor tasks of being a first-round draft pick, being a Raider, going to a Super Bowl, becoming senator, you're also a successful businessman. How did you take that challenge on at first? And do you still own the pizzerias?
Yes, I still do. I'm an active business owner. I'm actually a hands-on owner. You know, I go in, I make pizza, I order supplies, I do the payroll. I'm very, very active in the business. And what happened to get me started in that was that there was one pizza shop, you know, growing up that not too far from our home, and we used to frequent there a lot. And I always said, well, why we don't have any pizza shops in our neighborhood? We have to travel a little distance to get to it. So I said, well, one day when I'm in a position to do so, I'm going to put a pizza shop in the neighborhood, and we're going to create jobs, economic opportunities. And I remember as a young guy, when I had nothing, I used to go into this pizza shop, and the owner, name is Larry Guerrero. I used to say, "Where's the owner at? I want to see if I can buy it." And I had no money, you know. So he was like,
right.
He was like, look at this kid just talking stuff. And I was like, well, one day I'm going to have some money and I'm going to come back and buy it from you. And, you know, they laughed at me. "Oh, get out of here, kid," you know. And then when I got to college, I started doing better. Then once I got drafted, I came back and said, "Hey, have you guys thought about franchising?" And at the time they didn't. They said, "No, they just had one store." They said, "No, we're not going to franchise. We're comfortable with doing what we're doing." And then years later, I kept bugging him. Then he said, "Well, we're thinking about it now." So we struck up a deal, franchising agreement. We made the deal happen. I brought a store to the community that I was born and raised in, created jobs, and as you say, the rest is history. Now they went from one store to collectively now having 24 stores. So it's one of those stories that you say persistence pays off. I was persistent enough to continue the conversation to let them know that, hey, there's a need for jobs, there's a need for other businesses if you allow me the opportunity to kind of walk it through. It was also good fact, so like predating this me opening the store, I actually went to Kellogg, Northwestern's Kellogg Business School through a partnership with the NFL about business and small business in particular, about how to start a business. So I had a wealth of knowledge that I learned from Northwestern, from Kellogg School of Business, to help me to jumpstart, you know, my perception or my views on small business and creating wealth and different things like that. So that kind of prepared me to go into open the second store and another store. So it's been a great situation for me that I was able to transition from professional sports into something that I, you know, have a love for, and that's business and that's creating jobs. And, you know, I went to Northwestern because they have a great broadcasting school, and that's what I thought I was going to be doing, sitting up there on Sports Center on ESPN, commentating games. But you know, the chapter on that book's not closed yet either. That's something in the future that I definitely look forward to having an opportunity on doing. I think I have something to offer in relation to the game of football. I definitely know football inside and out from a player perspective and from an X's and O's from actually doing it for all these years. So being able to break down games and explain to fans of the game why certain things look the way they do, especially in my position as a middle linebacker. I was the quarterback of the defense.
And a senator, it's not just, you should really think about that, man. You should think about possibly bringing them the Senator's podcast. Maybe you could have questions sent to the Senator and you address some of them on air, then you break down certain games. I mean, that would be awesome.
Well, you could be my co-host. Let's do it.
CB's very down for that. That would be awesome. And because to all the kids, man, it's incredible what you represent. You come from Chicago, hometown man, into the league, into the Senate, and your business is booming. And now we got to talk about your real life superhero stories. Actually, there you were delivering. You know what we're talking about here. You were delivering a pie, folks. Get this, folks, and I'm sure you'll be able to tell in better detail. The senator, our enforcer, Mr. Napoleon Harris, a couple knuckleheads tried to jump while he's delivering a pizza, and they got a brutalizing handed out to him. Tell us the story, Senator.
Well, it's something that I wish on no individual. It was definitely traumatic from the point that I'm just fortunate that I made it out in one piece because it could have been worse. But when I look at it and I kind of recap it in my mind of the night of what happened, you know, I wasn't even supposed to be at the pizza place. I just stopped by, you know, checking on things, and they had some pizza still in the queue to be delivered. And I was telling the driver, I said, don't worry about it. You can take this one closer. You can get off a little earlier, take care of what you need to take care of. I'll take this one. I took one to one house, no problem, bam. Go to the second one, which was the last one that I was going to, get out the car, go like normal delivery. Guy sitting on the porch saying, I told him the price. He acts like he's going in his pocket to get the money. Guys, 3 other guys come from behind me. One hits me on the side of the head. I dropped the pizza bag, but I didn't fall. It's like, I'm gonna be honest with you. I mean, he hit me pretty hard, but I'm still in pretty good shape. I'm about 250. I probably can play it. I think I could give him 2 quarters in the NFL still. And I give him 2 quarters, first and second down. And when he hit me, then I realized, like, wow, this is really happening. That's what's going on in my mind. And another guy jumped on my back, and I'm getting choked. I'm literally getting choked out while another guy is hitting me with a pole or something in my legs. So I get that. I drop down as the other guy's still choking me, and it just flashed in front of me. I'm just like, you got to go home. I just thought about my son. I said, you got to make it home. And from that moment, it's just like I went back to. It was like I felt like I was playing a video game with my son. Like I played the Batman game with him. How when you press X on PlayStation, Batman does a spin and an elbow and a kick at the same time.
Right.
I went into survival mode. It was fight or flight. So, you know, I slammed one guy, punched another, kicked another one, and then once I hit the other one, he fell down. The other guy just took off running, but the guy that was the one that I had my hands on, he got pretty much the brunt of the force. I said somebody had to get it.
He had to play quarterback that day.
But more importantly, I was just trying to get distance from myself so I can get away. And once I saw them running, I didn't know at the time if they had any other weapons or a gun or anything. So I just retreated as fast as I could to my vehicle so I can escape and get away. And they all hopped in the car that was parked down the street, and I kind of sat in my car and waited because I didn't know what to expect. They were going to try to go get something or they were going to come back. And once I saw them pull off, I called the police on the phone, and I trailed them at a safe distance to kind of let them know where the guys were at to try to get the guys captured. And fortunately, eventually the guys were captured. So.
And that closed a murder case, huh, down in Georgia?
And it actually helped right, because they had just murdered a guy in Atlanta, and then came up to Chicago. So it was like, of all the places in the world, it was like I was meant to be at this place at this time in order for this to have some resolution to a murder case. So I'm just fortunate that I was able to make it home back to my family safely.
Man, what were you thinking when you walked through the door of your house that night?
Well, first and foremost, I had to answer to my wife because she's like, what happened? She's like, what? I mean, she was going crazy. Like, what? And look, I'm okay. That's first and foremost, I'm okay. And it was an emotional time, you know, for us. But it was a sigh of relief that I was okay. But you know, I was a little banged up myself. You know, it hit me with my knees were all busted up, my knuckles were busted up. But I was able to make it out, you know, in one piece. And all things being equal, I've made it out pretty good.
It's got to be crazy for you. You have to feel a sense of you're here for a purpose. All these high goals, you attain them, man. You're just a great man. It really is. I'm so happy and proud that you wore silver and black, man, because like your chapter, your whole book is interesting, you know?
Well, man, like I said, I've been fortunate to have good people surrounding me. I would definitely not be the person I am today without a good family structure. Now, mind you, when I say family structure, I didn't have the traditional mom and dad like that. You know, my dad was around. He was in and out. You know, he had his issues. He was in and out, him and my mom, relationship-wise. But my mom was so strong in making sure that we were going to be doing the right thing all the time, and that education was important. And I also had my grandmother, and I had uncles. I had teachers that cared about me. I had coaches that cared about me, who, if I wanted to do the wrong thing, they were not going to allow it. So they set a level of standard. And I think if anything I remember the most about all my experiences is from a time point when my mom asked me a single question. I remember I had to be in like first grade, and she asked me, she said, "Who's the smartest in your classroom?" And at the time I said, "Tiana." I said, "Tiana or Tiffany," one of the two girls who were pretty smart in my class, and I'm friends with them today. And she said, "Well, come in the house, and we're going to sit at this table, and we're going to work on you becoming the smartest person in the class." And I'm looking out the window. I'm at the kitchen table with my mom doing a little homework or extra work, whatever, to get better at school. And I remember looking out the window and I'm seeing friends ride their bikes up and down the street. And I'm like, I want to go outside and ride my bike. She said, "You can't ride your bike up and down the street until you become the smartest person in the class." And from that point on, every time she asked me who was the smartest person in the class, I said me. Now, at the time, it may not have been me. But by me saying those things, saying that I was the smartest, I had to act on it. So I had to do the things that were required for me to become the smartest in the class. So now I'm on the honor roll all the time. I'm getting all A's and B's, and I'm making all the assignments. And it became a habit instead of something that I just did to please my mother. That became who Napoleon Harris was and is. So all throughout my whole K through 12 education, I was always viewed myself as the smartest person in the room. So I worked towards that goal to get good grades, to be productive in school, to learn the lesson and take that part. And I took it on to college as well. I was very active in my books at Northwestern. When I went to business school, still doing the same thing. And I take that same tenacity when I go through the halls of the state capitol, you know, to make sure I'm reading the bills and understanding what purpose this piece of legislation has on the outcomes of lives in the communities that I serve. So it's been a humbling experience overall, but I wouldn't be the person I am today without, you know, my mom's input, coaches, uncles, grandparents, and a host of other family members and community members, because as they say, it takes a village to raise a child. It definitely took the village of Dixmoor and beyond to raise Napoleon Harris. So, you know, I'm definitely fortunate and blessed to have had that type of support system.
You're right, man. I think that's the most important thing wherever you are, the sense of community. Because when you can develop a sense of community, you're right, you got to have a high standard around.
And that's what I teach when I go and talk into classrooms, and I often go back to talk to my elementary school, my junior high school, as well as my high school. I can talk from personal experience that I've sat in the same seat that they're sitting in. And never let anyone put a limit or a cap and say, you can't do this, because I'm the wrong person to tell that to. When you tell me that I can't do something, I'm going to prove that I can. And I remember having this conversation on draft day. I remember, and if you were to call Coach Brown, he's actually the defensive coordinator or assistant head coach at Northwestern now. He was the defensive coordinator and defensive backs coach when I was there. And I remember telling Coach Brown, I said, "Coach Brown, I'm going to be the first linebacker selected in the draft, in the first round draft pick." And I remember Coach Brown telling me that. He said, "Napo, that's some pretty high talk there." And not saying that he didn't believe that I could do it.
Right.
But he knew that it was a huge task to be
a long shot.
Exactly. So he was saying that, like, basically, man, work hard and try to do it, but man, I don't know. And I remember on draft day, when I got drafted, he was there in the room with me. And I said, Coach Brown, remember that conversation? He said, yeah, I surely do. I said, didn't I tell you I was going to do it? He said, I'll never bet against you again. But I've been like that my whole life. Anytime someone tells me that I can't do something, I'm going to find a way to do it. And I teach my son that. I just had this conversation with him last week. I asked him the same thing. If, he's playing on a small fry basketball team. Now, there's some better players on the team than my son, but he's one of the youngest players. He's in third. The other players are in fifth and sixth. I said, listen, who's the best player? He told me who the best player was. I said, right. He's the best player now, but each time in practice, you guard him because you have good defense now. Your offense is not where his is at, but your defense is better. Play good defense on the best player, and that's how you're going to get recognition as you being a better player. And he started doing it. He said, Dad, you're right. I did that. And now people looking at me like, you can guard him? You can do this? I said, that's what you have to do. I said, anybody that's the best player, they have to show you each practice, each game that they're the best. I said, that's how the best stay the best. And I'm instilling that in him that you have to prove it. Each day you get up, you have to prove that you're the best. You have to prove that you have the ability to affect change in whatever you do. And those are the principles that I live my life by, and I try to put into everything that I do.
Man, let's take that exact lesson you were talking to your son about and take it to the Raiders training field. I mean, that had to be an 0-2. You get first round pick, you show up at the Raiders practice, now you're lining up across from Tim Brown, Jerry Rice. What was going on in your head then?
I had the same attitude. And I think that's what's unique for me. My attitude hasn't changed from an 8-year-old kid to a 38-year-old man.
Right.
My attitude has always been persistence, hard work, dedication, never give up, always give the best effort that you can, because that's something that you can control, your effort. Some people are naturally gifted than others. That's a given. But they can't control the amount of effort that I put out, the amount of hard work that I put out, and my attention to detail. And when it comes to the point where when you're talking about being a first-round draft pick, I remember a buddy of mine who asked me, he said, man, so you think you're going to play your first year at the Raiders? I said, don't start. He said, man, you're not about to start with the Raiders. They just went to the AFC Championship game last year. They're bringing back all the same players. How do you think you're going to start? I said, I'm going to beat out whoever's playing linebacker, and I'm going to be start. And I took that same attitude to the Raiders training camp. And at the time, Greg Beaker was a 10-year veteran, was a good player.
Yeah.
I went in there, and I learned the plays, and I proved that I was ready to take the reins as the middle linebacker, and they saw so fit. And I believe they moved Greg. I think he was released, and he ended up signing in Minnesota later. And then we ended up going to the Super Bowl. So it worked out for both players. Greg ended up landing on his feet, had a strong season in Minnesota. I ended up starting for the Raiders, and we go to the Super Bowl. The Raiders were happy. They picked the first-round guy who can actually play and fit in well with the team. But for me, I had to earn the respect of the other guys in the locker room. And I think that comes through the form of leadership. They saw me that I just wasn't a guy that just come in expecting to start because I was the first-round draft pick, but actually staying after, doing the extra work in the film room, lifting the weights, dedicating my body, getting my body ready for a full NFL season, learning what all the positions instead of just knowing what I have to do, learning the positions from inside out. And then sometimes I was actually lining up other guys when they were messing up, saying, hey, you're supposed to be in this A gap. And this guy got the B gap. Come down on the safety support and making sure I was communicating with the rest of my teammates on the defensive side of the ball. It was a wonderful experience that I had confidence that I would be able to play at the next level, and fortunately for me, I did.
Man, attention to detail. Such an important thing you just said, and that's right there in everything you do. Attention to detail. It's a very important pillar, folks, you should build on. Oh, so here's what I want to ask you. So I'm from New Jersey, and we love our pizza out there, and we got the Napoleon and the Neapolitan pizza, which is like the kind of like like a margarita pizza, like with the cheese and the tomatoes. Is there a Napoleon pizza over there at Beggar's Pizza?
I do have a Napoleon pizza at Beggar's Pizza.
Let's go.
And it's not Neapolitan, it's called Napoleon. It's the Napoleon Napo pizza.
Oh, what's on it?
Well, it's two versions. You can get a regular version, and then you can get the kind of like a works version. So the regular version would just be, sausage, cheese, mushrooms, green pepper, pepperoni, kind of like a meat lovers
Let's go
deal. And the works version would be what we call a barbecue chicken pizza. So it's sweet baby Ray's barbecue sauce, chicken, red onions, cheddar cheese, and mozzarella cheese mixed.
Oh.
And it's pretty good. Pretty good.
Oh, that sounds like a nice little Sunday special, folks, for game day. What's the one business gem you could share? Like, what has business taught you?
Well, business taught me pretty much the same thing sports has taught me. No one person can do it by themselves, that you have to work with a team. And so I think it's important to have a great team that you build on the business side to be able for you to delegate certain responsibilities to make the team grow. Because if it just started and ended with Napoleon, the business wouldn't work. Because I can't do everything at one particular time, and you need a great support system and staff to be able to manage things accordingly for your business to grow and even for your business to just be sustainable. So I think the business gem that I pretty much hold on to or cherish the most would be having good employees, good staff, and making sure that you take care of the people who take care of you.
Man, we got bucketfuls of gems today. You really have. You've inspired me. You continue to inspire me and to inspire Raider Nation. And I just wish you the best for it. And I know you have so much more to achieve still, man. And I thank you for taking the time to catch up.
Well, anytime, Charlie. You can call me anytime. I'm more than happy to come on and talk Raider football, talk any type of sports in football, talk life, talk politics, you can talk federal politics, local politics, state politics. I just really enjoy what I do. I enjoy life. I think I've been extremely blessed to be in the situation that I'm in currently. I realize that the opportunities that I've had, everyone doesn't have them. And I want to just be in a situation where I can help other people reach their full potential. And that's why this job as senator here in Illinois has been so rewarding and fulfilling, because I get the call. It's not the calls that people see on the news all the time. It's the ones that they don't hear about. The calls that's saying, thanks, Senator, for looking out for me in this manner, or for helping support this initiative. It helped my son go to college. It helped me get the job. We're back on the right track, and our lives are better because of the decisions and the leadership that you've taken. So those are things that give me the most joy, to be able to help people actually enhance the quality of life for others.
And that's exactly what you're doing out there. It's funny. We had a couple weeks ago, we were talking about Chicago. We had Harrison on, and he's out there in Chicago at the Players Association, and we're talking about Chicago, and he was saying that people need something to believe in, and people need to feel that they can achieve and have an opportunity to achieve, and that's when positivity can reign and spirits can be lifted. And man, that's what your story represents to a place that needs it. And it's really awesome to see what you're doing.
Oh, absolutely. Are you referring to Nolan Harrison, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, Nolan is over at the NFLPA. Actually, he grew up in my district, so I know Nolan. He went to Homewood Flossmoor High School, one of my rival high schools against Thornton. And Nolan doing a great job. And I spoke with Nolan on last week, about some issues that we're dealing with on the state level pertaining to NFL athletes. And
oh, wow.
He's exactly right. Young men and women need to see who they can become before they can dream of becoming it, because you can't be what you can't see. And if they don't see positive outcomes in their community, why or how could they believe that they can be those positive outcomes? So he's exactly right. We need to bring in a little more positive spirits and actually we have to rebuild hope. The thing about it is communities have lost hope. They've lost trust in elected officials. They've lost trust in the system as it is today that even works for them. So once you rebuild that trust and you rebuild that hope, it gives them a sense of ownership to say, listen, this is what you want to become. This is the road the roadmap or the blueprint to become it, and they actually see it working, then their belief system starts back. That it's like you're building up the morale. It's like a team. If you have a coach that belittles the team every single time and never gives them any positive anecdotes about them becoming successful, they're probably not going to be a good team. Because the only image they're going to have is the coach telling them you suck, you can't do it, versus saying that, listen, I've seen you guys do this before. I've seen you overcome adversity before. This is no different. The same makeup that you overcame the last obstacle, you have it within you to overcome this obstacle. Let's go do it together. That's going to inspire the team. That's going to inspire the people who you're trying to inspire to become their best selves. That's what we need more than ever. And not only Chicago, but in many other metropolitan urban areas across this country.
Yeah.
You know, I know Chicago gets a light nationally because of a lot of the violence that's going on in Chicago, which needs to be eradicated. But it's everywhere. I mean, when you look at Joe McKnight, what happened to him down in New Orleans, things like that's happening. You could put your hand in the bucket and pull out a lot of different tragedies that happen all over the country. These are things
in every state. In every state. Pretty much in every state.
These are things that we have to just put our heads together collectively to make that change.
Absolutely. And, man, it really is cool to see you in the exact right position for the right time in your life, and in this chapter right now. And this is how I want to send it off. To any of the current Raiders listening, the guys on the team right now, what message do you have for them headed into this season after achieving the goal of a Super Bowl? What's your advice?
Continue to work hard. Continue to work on their craft. Take care of your body and work together as a team. I mean, I'm so inspired by this young group of Raiders. You wouldn't believe. I saw in them what hopefully people saw in us back in 2002. They were young. They were exciting. Carr puts you in the mindset of Rich Gannon, the way he was able to throw the ball down the field. Cooper was able to make those great catches like you saw Jerry Rice and Tim Brown make, and Jerry Porter. I see Khalil Mack getting after the quarterback in the way that he does. I mean, it's so inspiring to see Raider football being played again. Tough hitting, long passes down the field, strong running game, good quarterback play. I mean, there's some things we can shore up on every side of the ball, offense and defense. And I think Coach Del Rio is the right coach right now to put those things together. And I think I'm inspired. I think they're going to be a great team this year. I think they're going to do well in the draft and in free agency. And I'm looking for the Raiders to go deep in the playoffs this year.
Absolutely. And Raider Nation, I co-sign that all. Napoleon, thank you so much for coming on, brother. And we'll keep in touch. Absolutely. What do you got to say to Raider Nation?
Go Raiders. Always remember, like Al Davis said, just win, baby.
Well, that'll do it for this week's episode. Thanks for joining us again here on the Raider Life Podcast. I'm your host, Charlie Boots, and for more episodes, head on over to RaiderLife.com. Don't forget, follow us on Twitter at RaiderLifePOD and on Facebook by searching Charlie Boots. God bless you and your families, and I'll see you next time here on the Raider Life.